the deep market where the races take place. In spite of the crush of people, it gets very cold in the deep market. The market's hours are limited. Closing time coincides with the dimming time in order to conserve the energy it takes to heat this part of the city and keep the air going. We are deep down here. I shiver, though the walls of Atlantia have never been breached or broken in any significant way. When the people prepared for the divide long ago, they asked for inspiration in designing Atlantia. The story is that the minister at the time had a dream in which the gods told him that our city should be patterned after the grand cities of old. The minister saw Atlantia clearly in his dream, a beautiful place of temples and churches set on plazas. He saw colorful buildings with shops on the ground floor and apartments rising above them, and boulevards and streets connecting everything together. But of course, it all had to be underwater. And so Atlantia was conceived as a series of enormous enclosed bubbles, some higher than others, some lower, connected by canals and walkways. The engineers discovered that it was better to make smaller habitats and join them together than to create one large bubble for everything. The centermost sphere is the most desirable part of Atlantia. It holds the temple, the council buildings, the upmarket, and several living areas. Other smaller enclosures encompass the lesser churches, markets, and neighborhoods. Some of the deepest bubbles of all are the areas that encompass the machineries of Atlantia, the bays where the mining drones come in for repair and storage, and the deep market. The engineers spent years designing all of this. Some of the original blueprints are on display in a special glass case in one of the antechambers of the temple. There are rusty stains and splatters on the diagrams. The rumor is that, as the engineers were dying, they sometimes coughed blood onto the papers. They couldn't stop in their task, or humankind would have perished. So they kept on at their sacred, consecrated work. When I mentioned the rumor about the spots on the paper being blood to my mother, she did not debunk it or say the stains were something else. "So many sacrificed for us to live," she said, and her eyes were very sad. The destruction above meant that there were few natural materials left for use below. Our city's underpinnings are made mostly of manufactured goods, with some precious overlays of old materials like the wooden pulpit in the temple and the stones covering a few of the best streets. But Atlantia is still beautiful. One of the things we Atlanteans are most proud of is our trees, made of steel trunks and individual shimmering metallic leaves. They are as lovely as anything that ever existed above. So people say. The engineers used the transportation from one of those old cities, a romantic system of canals and boats called gondolas, as a model for our public transit down here. Of course, our gondolas are modernized. They have engines and run on tracks through dry concrete canals. The people of Atlantia love the gondolas, although they require constant maintenance. Even though workers repair the gondolas each night after curfew, it's not uncommon to see a boat beached off its track during the day, machinists swarming around like mermaids gathering about the hulls of shipwrecks and pre-divide illustrations. My mother found the architecture of Atlantia fascinating, and she loved the trees and the gondolas almost as much as she loved the temple. "Flourishes in the face of death," she told Bay and me once as we looked at the diagrams. The engineers left their signature in every working of Atlantia. They made the city useful and beautiful. "It's a second kind of immortality," Bay said. "They live on in heaven and in Atlantia herself." My mother looked over at Bay, and their love of the city was so palpable that I felt left out. I loved Atlantia, but not the way they did. These lower areas have less embellishment and look more utilitarian than some of the other parts of Atlantia. Here, the rivets are clearly visible on the walls, and the sky is lower.